guys, so I haven't made a video in a while, but I got an order for a carrot cake, and a lot of people have asked about the best recipe for a carrot cake, and this is my recipe. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a video of what I'm doing for this recipe. So I have 2 cups of sugar in here. My sugar is the evaporated cane juice, which is the organic product. So I do have that in here, and then I'm going to add to that, this is actually a cup of avocado oil. I use organic avocado oil for this, and then it also has a 1/2 cup of applesauce in there. It's unsweetened applesauce. So I put the applesauce in with the oil because it acts as like an oil, and it helps with the moisture content. And this is a moist cake anyway because it is made with carrots. So I'm adding that in now. I also have, and this is unusual for carrot cakes, but I also have a cup of drained crushed pineapple. So I know that a lot of people don't use pineapple in theirs, but I do, and it makes it so much better. This is about 2.5 cups of finely grated organic carrots, and I did finely grate those. If you've got a food processor that would do that better than having to do it by hand, that's great, but I do them by hand. I've also got 4 eggs right here, so I'm going to put those in a minute. And then this mixture, I have organic all-purpose flour, a cup of toasted chopped finely pecans with a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a tablespoon of organic cinnamon. So I've added all of that together in this bowl, and I'm just whisking that together. So that's my dry ingredients. So I'm just going to whisk all of that together, and I'm going to add that in a few minutes, okay? Now the only other thing that I have not shown you that I have in there is my vanilla, and I haven't added the vanilla yet, but I am going to add a tablespoon. I know a tablespoon sounds like a lot because most people put a teaspoon, but I'm going to add a tablespoon of vanilla to this recipe. It makes it even better. But I'm going to mix together the sugar, the avocado oil, and the applesauce right now. And now I'm going to add in my eggs, and I'm going to add them in one at a time. It takes a little bit longer that way, but they get better incorporated. So I'm going to do them one at a time. All right, so now I'm going to add in my drained crushed pineapple. A lot of people put their added ingredients in after they add their flour, but I do all the dry stuff last. It just makes it more moist and it doesn't make it tough. And here's my carrots. I'm putting the carrots in. After all, what would a carrot cake be without carrots? Most of those. Scrape out my bowl. You'd be surprised how much you end up leaving behind if you don't scrape your bowl out. I like these bowl scrapers. I actually got these from Pampered Chef, and I do like Pampered Chef products. Not even a plug for Pampered Chef, but I do like their products. All right, now I am going to mix this in. I'm going to add in my vanilla extract. Now I added a tablespoon of cinnamon, so my tablespoon has a little cinnamon on there, but I'm just putting vanilla extract in. So there's my vanilla extract. I'm going to mix that in. So now I'm going to add in my flour mixture, okay? Now I'm just gonna beat this until it's kind of incorporated. I'm not gonna over mix it, but then I'm gonna use my scraper to kind of fold it to make sure there are no flour patches in there. And this is what the batter looks like whenever you have it all together. And I'm going to put this, try to make it as evenly as possible, or even as possible, into these cake pans. I've got 3 cake pans. They're not all exactly alike, but I have 2 of one kind and 2 of another kind, and I'm making 3 layers, so. And then I'll just kind of look and see if it looks like they're even, and there are more precise ways to do this, but this is just as good. Then I'm going to spread it out in the pan so that it's somewhat even. Make sure it's covering, because I do have parchment paper in the bottom of these pans. That's how I keep them from sticking to the bottom. I'm going to put the rest of this right here. There we go. Now when I bake my cakes, I usually put them in the oven for around half an hour. But what I do is I check them at like 10 minutes, and then I turn them around and move them in different places in the oven so that they're getting the same amount of heat from different places. So about every 10 minutes I check them, and then when it looks like they're starting to get ready and they're starting to get more done, then I'll take it down to like every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, something like that. But it should be around half an hour to get those baked. And in they go. Put 2 on top and 1 underneath, and then I'll change them around in about 10 minutes. And we wait. All right. This is the last one that was in there. I've already got the other 2 out, and you can see what they look like. They're soft on top, but spring back when you touch it, and that's the right amount of doneness. The one that was done in the lighter pan got a little more done than the other 2 because it's a lighter weight material. I like these heavy duty pans better. But anyway, so the cakes are done, and I'm gonna let those cool for a little bit, and then I'm gonna wrap them up in saran wrap and put them in the freezer so that they can really get firm before I start to decorate them. But I'll do the frosting in just a little bit. All right, so the cakes are in the freezer, and I'm making the frosting. This is gonna be a cream cheese frosting. So I do have 1 8-ounce block of Philadelphia cream cheese and 2 sticks of butter in here. I am also going to add vanilla extract and just a little bit of cinnamon, just organic cinnamon, and then about half a bag of powdered sugar. That's a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar. Let me turn this light on so maybe you guys can see it a little bit better. It's getting dark outside because we had a funeral to go to today, so it was kind of late. But I'm going to mix these up really well, and then I'm going to add in some of my other stuff here. All right, so I've got my cream cheese and my butter mixed together, and now I'm going to add in, this is a half tablespoon. So I'm doing a little bit less than a half tablespoon of vanilla. And then I'm gonna add in just a sprinkle of cinnamon. I feel like it needs a little bit of cinnamon to go with this cake because the cake does have that cinnamon in it. And then I'm gonna add about half of this 2-pound bag of powdered sugar. I'm not measuring it because they're 2-pound bags, so it's about a pound of powdered sugar. And I'm used to doing this, so I know about what it's supposed to look like. But you can measure it out if you want and do 1 pound of powdered sugar if that makes it easier for you. All right, so I've got this mixed up really well, and as you can see, this is a nice smooth frosting. Very easy to spread, and that's what we're gonna use on our carrot cake. So I'll get that out of the freezer and get my turntable, and I'll start getting the cake frosted. All right, so I've got my little turntable, and I put one of the cake layers on a cake drum on top of the turntable, and I'm gonna just put a couple scoops of frosting on top, and then use a offset spatula to spread that around to cover that cake layer. And you just want to get it kind of flattened out so that it's not mounded up in any one place. And a nice smooth surface. And then I've got the other 2 cake layers out of the freezer. I had those wrapped in plastic wrap. And I am going to add the next layer on top of that one. And try to line them up to make sure that they match where they are lined up evenly. And I'm going to get some more frosting and put that on top of that layer. And again with the offset spatula, just spread that around. Try to get that nice and even. And if you don't have a turntable like this for cakes, you could even use like a microwave wheel. You know how some microwaves have a little thing on the bottom that you can set plates on and it turns? You could even use something like that, and it would work quite nicely. And this is the top layer. Let me see if all of these look even. I think they pretty much look even. And again, I try to make sure they're all lined up evenly because we don't want a wonky cake. And more frosting. I usually put a little more on top whenever I am finished stacking them, because it'll go over the sides some at times. And that's a good thing, because you're gonna put it all over the sides as well. But you see how smooth this frosting is. I mean, it really goes on pretty easily. And because the cake is cold, it makes it easier to not have the frosting just dripping everywhere. And then I'm just going to start smoothing it around the sides. I usually use the part that has dripped down from the top to kind of go over the top portion of the cake. And you can see how the crumbs start to show through whenever when you don't have enough frosting on there. But once you get enough frosting on there, it'll start covering out all the edges. But it's relatively simple to do. It's just a matter of getting used to doing the same thing over and over again, you know? And once you get it somewhat smooth on the sides, then you can take that, scrape it off, and bring back across the top. And that makes the top more smooth. And what I normally do is, after I smooth the cake back out like this, I'll put it back in the freezer or the refrigerator for a little while, like 10-15 minutes. And then I'll go over it again with more frosting so that it covers all the parts of the cake that this did not cover. A lot of people call this a crumb coat. Sometimes I do a crumb coat, sometimes I don't. Just depends on how the frosting goes on. But you want your cake to be relatively smooth. So I am going to put this back into the freezer for just 10-15 minutes or so, and then we'll finish up and make it look a little nicer. Alright guys, it's the next day. I decided I was going to go ahead and decorate this morning. So all I did was I took a little bit of green icing and a little bit of chocolate icing, and then I made some fondant to do little sunflowers. So I know that the recipient likes sunflowers really well, so that's what I did. Made the sunflowers out of fondant because I've got to ship this cake. If I were gonna be there where the cake is being delivered, I would have just made them out of frosting, because it's easier and it tastes better. You don't have to, deal with all the chewiness of the fondant. But it is marshmallow fondant, it is tasty, and this ships better. So hopefully this cake will get there in one piece and look like it does now. It turned out pretty well, I think. I just put a simple birthday message on there and then just a few sunflowers. And I used a grass tip to do the little border around the bottom there. So it's just a simple little grass tip. So as you can see, that is the finished carrot cake. And hopefully Cynthia will love it.